We want to get rolling on another season ticket holder event, and this is a real special one. We're going to sit down with the head coach of the Golden State Warriors. I'm Bob Fitzgerald, the Warriors TV announcer. You may know that if you're a season ticket holder. We want to get a few things out of the way. We are hopeful to have fans at Chase Center, and when we know, we will let you know. So we'll be in conversation and contact with you. Also, season ticket holders, remember, April 8th is the deadline for next year, and I'm sure Steve Kerr will tell you, you need to be here this year if you can, and next year for sure. So without further ado, the three-time champion as a head coach. He won so many as a player, I think 5 or something like that. Final 4 at Arizona, but all-around phenomenal person, the one and only Steve Kerr. So, Coach, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Fitzy?
Well, I mean, you only had travel back and a practice and a game tomorrow, so I would imagine your schedule a little busy. We appreciate you carving out a little bit of time.
No, of course. It was great to have a day off yesterday, especially with the weather so spectacular here in the Bay. You get off the road for 5 straight days, especially this year, where we really can't do much. We can't have team dinners and can't get outside much. It's just so nice to come home. And our schedule really starts to soften up. These last 4 or 5 weeks have been really tough. So it's nice to come home and get a lot of home games coming up.
Let's do a couple current things and then we'll stroll down memory lane a little bit. But you mentioned this year in particular, and I think you've kept a really good balance, as have the team, in that there's testing protocols and there's all kinds of safety rules. And, this isn't a complaint thing. You guys have really done hey, look at the real world. Look at what people are going through. We're doing the very best we can, but this isn't something to get mad at people or get upset. And I love just kind of hey, we'll roll with the punches and just kind of handle things. Did you and your staff talk about that with the guys? Hey, let's not start, yelling at the ceiling here, because I think how the Warriors have handled it has been really remarkable and is the proper world perspective given where sports kind of fits in.
Yeah, we talked about it the first day of training camp, just how important it was to keep perspective on this year, and we knew it was going to be difficult, but the whole message was how lucky are we to be working. So many people are not working. How lucky are we to play basketball, because it's something we love to do. And I think, physical activity is one of the best ways to deal with the stress of COVID, whether you're a professional athlete or weekend warrior, just getting outside and going for a run or playing around a golf or whatever it is. It's just so good mentally to be able to do that. And so our whole conversation that first day, and the guys were really great taking part, was, let's keep perspective. People are suffering out there. So many people have died. So many people have fallen ill. Here we are, healthy and working and lucky to be doing what we're doing. So let's not let these protocols, get into our way too much.
Yeah, and I commend you for doing that. Another kind of current event thing that I don't think fans totally clue in on, the NBA trade deadline. There's a human element to players, and it's super fun to, hey, what if teams traded this guy or this or that? But from a head coach and a player standpoint, when there's all kinds of crazy media reports and this and that, how do you keep that line of communication open with players and be aware that this is a big deal? I remember how emotional kind of the Alec Burks and Glenn Robinson situation was at the deadline last year, because everybody really liked him, and even D'Angelo had fit in, and he was traded as well. And so just give fans kind of the behind the scenes on some of that.
Yeah, Willie Cauley-Stein we traded to last year. I think we traded maybe 5 players, 6 players during the middle of last season, and it was terribly difficult because we had a really good group. They really enjoyed being here and being together, and that's one of the tough things. I talk to the players all the time about how lucky we are to be playing in the NBA, but how difficult it is to be traded, cut, booed, injured, and that's really where we earn our money in this business. Most of us just played basketball our whole lives because we loved it. and to be able to do it for a living is an absolute dream. But the downside to all this interest in the NBA, to the TV ratings and the big business aspect of it, is that we become expendable, almost all of us, so it's I've been traded before in my career. I played for 6 teams in 15 years, and I think I had to pack up in the middle of the season one time, and a couple other times traded in the off season. And it's not easy packing up your family, and if you got kids, changing schools, and very stressful. And so every year at this time, I make sure I'm talking to the guys whose names are being tossed around, and I make sure I check in with them and see how they're doing. And it's just, unfortunately, it's it's part of the gig, and but it's obviously something we all sign up for and we have to deal with.
All right. So topically, again, the NCAA March Madness. How many times do you reflect on your Final Four team and the friendships and how special that was and what a great accomplishment? We'll get to your pro stuff in a second, but just give me a few thoughts on Arizona and your friendships and what that year meant to Steve Kerr.
Yeah, we went to the Final Four in 1988, and those guys remain some of my best friends on earth. And so every year when the tournament comes on, I reflect back to that season and how much fun it was. And I watch all the kids on TV playing, and the joy of winning a game and advancing. There's nothing like it. There's no feeling like winning an NCAA tournament game and knowing you've survived until the next one, and you get to enjoy, another game and maybe another week before your next one. And, and under normal circumstances, you go back to campus and everybody's all excited. And I mean, there's nothing like it. The NCAA tournament is great. There's also the devastation, you feel for the kids who lose, and the tears. And trust me, I felt that too, losing in the Final Four. Personally having a very bad game in that game. It's that's something that's never left me either. But that's the beauty of the tournament, is just the incredible swings of emotion. But more importantly, the memories and the friendships that last if you're lucky enough to be in a great situation like I was.
We know people are joining at various times, so if you have a question for Steve Kerr at the very end, if we can sneak some in, hit the chat function, and we'll get some season ticket holder questions for the coach. I was on another interview, and I was kind of positing this theory. I want to run it by you. If I was preparing an NBA head coach, I might have him play for a Hall of Fame college coach, and then two of the greatest NBA head coaches, watch the interaction of a Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan superstar and a Greg Popovich, Tim Duncan superstar, make him a broadcaster, make him a GM, and then let him be a head coach. Do you think the preparation you've gone through has checked a number of great boxes? And I want to, take me through what would be the, something you pulled from Lute Olson.
Yeah. No, there's no question, Fitzy. I've had as good of an apprenticeship for this job as anybody could possibly ever have. So to be blessed to have played for all these Hall of Fame coaches. You mentioned Phil and Pop, but also Lenny Wilkins, one of the all-time greats. Cotton Fitzsimmons, who was a longtime coach in the NBA, who should be in the Hall of Fame. All these experiences, everything just kind of stays in your mind, whether it's a circumstance or a play or a comment. I still have phrases that I use that came directly from Tex Winter, my assistant coach in Chicago. I use expressions that Greg Popovich used for us, when I played in San Antonio. And Lute Olson really is the person who gave me my start. I didn't have a scholarship offer coming out of high school, and Coach Olson offered me one at the very last moment, about a month before school started. And what I learned from him during 5 years in college was really the foundation for everything that my career has been built on. Coach Olson passed away last summer, and we had a Zoom with many of his former players, not only from Arizona, but from Iowa and Long Beach State, even his high school players. There were literally hundreds of players on that Zoom, and to have played for Coach Olson and to have felt his impact, and to be able to reflect on that impact now as a head coach myself, it's just incredibly valuable.
How about the Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, coach superstar versus Popovich, Duncan, coach superstar? And clearly Jordan and Duncan are two different people.
Yeah.
But how does that inform you with a Steph Curry or a Klay Thompson or Draymond Green or a Kevin Durant, knowing, because you were a role player and a rotation guy. So I think that the end of the bench, or the 8, 9, 10 through 12, you got that because you were that person. But the interaction with superstars is a key part of the NBA coaching skill set. What did you glean from those two guys and those two coach superstar relationships?
Well, there has to be a respect, between that player and that coach, and the coach just can't cozy up to the player.
Right.
Coach has to earn the player's respect, and that doesn't come right away. You have to earn that. And I think what I saw with Phil and Michael was a partnership that had already been formed over 5 years before I got there, and there was a collaboration that was happening that reminds me, to be honest, right now, of my relationship with Draymond. Draymond and I have, 6.5 years now under our belt. We collaborate now more than I coach him. We know each other so well. I know what I have to do to motivate him, to keep him in check. I know what I have to do to help him play his best. He knows, everything that I believe in as a coach, my vision for the team. He knows what I'm expecting out of the guys. So sometimes he'll say something that needs to be said that I'm thinking of before I even say it. We kind of think alike in a lot of ways. And that reminds me of Phil and Michael. Pop and Tim Duncan is more like my relationship with Steph. Tim was much more laid back, like Steph, much quieter. Michael and Draymond are a lot alike,
Right.
in terms of being boisterous and loud in the locker room. So with Steph, he's a lot like Tim in that, he's just an incredible, confident, dominant player wrapped in the skin of someone with incredible humility. It's a really powerful combination. But what Steph allows me to do is to coach him. And much like with Phil and Pop, with Timmy and Pop, when Pop would yell at Tim for a mistake, Tim would just accept it because he was so comfortable in his own skin and practical as a human being. He didn't take anything personally. And that's how it is with Steph. If Steph makes a mistake, I can say, Steph, you got to be better. You got to do this. You got to do that. When the whole team sees that, it just makes my job so much easier because everybody else then realizes, oh, okay, he's just coaching. This is not personal. And so Steph just sets a tone in our locker room every day, and it's beautiful to watch. The work ethic, the humility, the confidence, coachability. He's just an absolute dream to coach.
All right, so Con Fitzsimmons, Lenny Wilkins, Lute Olson, Phil Jackson, and Greg Popovich. But when you became a broadcaster, that's the key. Really knowing the game at a level of excellence that people don't realize, right?
That's right.
When you put the headset on, you're never wrong, you never lose, and you know everything. Come on.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, I watched some of these tournament games, and I remember I did 4 years of the NCAA tournament when I was in broadcasting, and it was a lot less stressful, let me tell you. I was definitely right more often than I am now, but no, that was a great time of my life, and it was very informative. The thing I really took from broadcasting was the interactions that I had with the head coaches that I was speaking with. I'd go do a game, and I'm doing a Dallas San Antonio game, and I get to sit with Rick Carlisle for 15 minutes before the game and Pop, and I get to pick their brains what's happening, and they're explaining what they're trying to do with their teams. Trust me, that's all going right here and into my computer later on. I mean, I literally spent those 4 years broadcasting preparing to coach, and I was putting thoughts down, every week into a document on my computer and trying to put together a philosophy and an idea of what I would be like as a coach. And all those years broadcasting really allowed me to observe the league in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise been able to.
And being a GM, I think maybe informs your friendship and relationship with Bob Myers, that no team is successful unless the GM and coach believe in each other and can have really what I call courageous conversations where, hey, I need to be directly honest with you. You can be the same with me. And, too often the GM and coaches splinter in pro sports. And you were in that seat. You were a GM. Did that help you in terms of how you have worked so seamlessly with Bob?
100%. In fact, it was crucial to my understanding of the front office dynamic, in terms of the coach, GM, owner relationship and how strong that has to be, which means there's got to be communication constantly. And it's got to be, as you said, courageous at times. If I make a mistake, Bob, is sometimes going to have to point that out to me. And so we try to nip that stuff in the bud by just meeting and periodically. We talk every day. Yeah. And I'll ask him, what'd you think? And what could we have done differently? Or, if you were me, what would you do? And so we talk so often, we know each other so well that we never even get to the point where there's any acrimony. It's more, we're just trying to collaborate and help the team be the best it can be. And same thing with Joe. Like, I called Joe 2 nights ago, an hour before the game, to discuss something that was organizationally that we were talking about. And like, that has to happen. And if I hadn't been a GM, I wouldn't have understood that. I would have had to learn on the fly. Sometimes that's too late. It's this business, it's tough. You got to be connected from the get-go.
All right. So before we, get into kind of some of the silly stuff, and then obviously want to hear from the fans, you said something a couple games ago that I really appreciated, and I think I want the season ticket holders to get it from you again. How pleased you are where the Warriors are and are heading. Yeah. The idea of this year without Clay, in my mind, and I want your thoughts on this, see if Steph is still amazing. Check. Mm-hmm. See if Draymond can be engaged and dominant like he was in the Portland playoff series. Check. Develop younger guys and see who's going to be part of the next group that climbs the mountain. And I see Andrew Wiggins becoming this tremendous two-way player, amazing defensively and fitting right in. And I can picture him with Steph and Draymond and Clay. And then you have this pick and wise when you see the development of Jordan Poole. There is a chance for some lottery love going forward, but you kind of reiterated, hey, where we are is exciting, but where we're going, me, Steve Kerr, I feel really good about where the Warriors are. I'm not saying it as eloquently as you did, but kind of pick up on that theme a little bit.
No, I think you described it well. I mean, I think it's easy to get wrapped up in, game to game this season, and we've been up and down. We have great moments, and then we lose a game that we should win, and it's frustrating, but it's really important to keep the big picture in mind because all of this is part of the stepping stones. I think about before I became the Warriors coach, the previous 3 seasons under Mark Jackson were crucial to us ultimately winning a title. Those teams built a defense. You could see it. I could see it as a broadcaster. The defense was getting better and better. And Steph and Clay were really emerging, and you could see the team start to form. They made the playoffs. And then, we were ready to go. We're ready to win. And that's what we're trying to do now is to bring a group of young guys up to be ready to win. And great thing is, as you said, Steph, Draymond playing at such a high level still. There's no reason to think that they won't be for the next several years. Clay will be back. Jordan Poole, wow. I mean, the last 8 games since he's come back from Orlando. By the way, we just had a practice. We had a scrimmage. He was the best player on the floor. I mean, he looked incredible. The confidence level now that Jordan has, amazing. And of course, James, I think these last 29 games in many ways are all about James's development. And he's had a really good rookie season despite the adversity of missing training camp completely because of COVID protocol, missing various practices, missing various games, these last couple of games because of COVID protocol. But you look at Adam out there, he's incredibly gifted, great young guy, smart, resilient. So now we got 29 more games for him to really continue his development. You throw all that into the pot next year, it's pretty exciting. And you mentioned some of the other guys too, Andrew and Eric Pascal and others. We've just got a really a good group that's learning how to win right now, so that hopefully by next year, or maybe even by the end of this year, we'll have a much better feel for winning close games.
All right, so here's some of these are from season ticket holders. Some of this has been tasks from our Warrior marketing department that want to know everything about you. So here's more of the fun part of this, now that you've been grilled on all the deeper discussion. But who is the best dressed player on your team, according to Steve Kerr?
Best dressed player. I'm going to go with Kelly Oubre.
Okay.
Kelly's got style. He's just got a way about him. I love Kelly. He's a deep thinker. He's a little quirky. So his clothing reflects who he is.
Okay. Who is the best singer within it doesn't have to be players. It could be the whole traveling party.
Do you mind if I look at my list?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have the roster on it. I'm trying to find anybody who's a decent singer.
Whoa, really?
I'll go with Steph. Steph.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is the best dancer amongst the Warriors?
Best dancer. We'll go
I make
Draymond.
Jordan Poole. I mean, in terms of the pregame.
I don't even see that stuff. I'm in my office. Does Jordan do a big dance before the?
That's pretty good. He's
all right.
Solid.
Let's give it to Jordan then.
And then who would be? It could be film sessions or bus or practice. Who is the class clown of the Warriors?
That's definitely Steph. That's 100% Steph. In fact, the last two nights in Memphis, obviously I much rather would have had him out on the court, but he was sitting right behind me during those two Memphis games. And he was hilarious. Just his offhand comments about what's happening on the floor, a ref or an opponent, just making fun of everybody and everything. Steph is so much fun to be around. I think you can see that. He's just a very joyful person in general, but he's definitely the class clown leading the charge with our guys.
All right. Marketing wants to know, have you watched any of Klay Thompson or Marquise's broadcasting on any of the games? Have you seen any of that? And put your broadcasting hat on. What would be your thoughts on Marquise or Klay when they put a headset on?
I think I've only heard bits and pieces, but both guys are pretty good. I mean, Klay is crazy. Klay is nuts. And so some of my favorite broadcasters are the guys who will just say anything, and they're just nuts, And so I love listening to Klay. I heard a couple of clips of Marquise. He's pretty good. He makes really good points, and it's been fun too to see Keith around. He's starting to get on the floor and run and shoot, and it's just it's been a rough year for him, obviously, with that injury at the beginning of the season. So great to see him back on the floor, and hopefully not not in the booth too much anymore, because we want him playing instead.
All right, so this is from I'm gonna do my best on some of the names, but Jean-Paul Balaadia. If you're on the golf course and you can pick only one teammate, are you taking Steph or Michael Jordan?
Oh, Steph. Steph's a better player. Michael's a very good golfer, and maybe he's even better now. But Steph is an amazing golfer.
Ray in Alameda says, what's been one pregame tradition you used your first year of coaching that you continue to use now?
pregame tradition.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Are you a superstitious guy? We don't talk about that much.
No, I'm not. I'm really not superstitious. But I just have a routine. I have a play card that I keep normally in my jacket pocket, now just in my back pocket. But I write notes down in terms of what are the keys to the game, and then kind of specialty plays, late game plays that we're going to need. If we need a 3, if we need a 2, if we're taking the ball out of bounds underneath, whatever it is. And so my afternoon ritual is we usually practice in the morning. We have a shoot around. I go home and get off my feet and take an hour-long nap, and then come in and get on my computer, type up my play card, remind myself of all the keys and things to look for, matchups to look for, things that I'm going to have to be on my toes for during the game. And then I head out there, but I have no superstitions.
Tiffany Loya says, what do you do in your free time to detach and relax?
I spend a lot of time with my wife and our puppy. We have a 5-month-old English cream retriever named Lulu. And Lulu is currently the joy in our lives. We will take her for walks in the neighborhood, or Margot and I like to cook dinner together, watch movies. We'll try to get hooked on a TV show, that's something that has multiple episodes, so we can kind of get locked in on something. But and then in terms of getting outdoors, we'll hike. Yesterday we took a beautiful hike near the Golden Gate Bridge, and spectacular day here in the Bay. So we love living here. We love just the weather and the restaurants and the sights and the sounds, and what a beautiful place to be. So we're trying to enjoy it as much as we can anyway during the pandemic.
Andy Chan says, when did you know that you were destined to be an NBA head coach, and how did you know that?
I didn't ever know that I was destined to be one. I thought I would coach. When I was playing at Arizona, I thought I would become a college coach. I didn't think I would play in the NBA, so I figured maybe I'll be a college coach. And then when I ended up playing for a long time in the league, I realized because being a former player is a huge advantage if you want to try to coach. I realized I'd have a shot. And so I just tried to prepare for it. And I knew, too, I was very lucky. I mean, just being part of those championship teams gave me credibility. The Bulls and the Spurs. To have that on my resume was a huge advantage. And so I knew it was something I wanted to pursue, and couldn't have been luckier to get this gig as my first one.
You can pass on this one, but I think it's a good question. The person listed anonymous, but which player on the Warriors reminds you the most of yourself?
I think Damian Lee.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think Damian, like me, Damian is sort of in and out of the rotation. That defined my entire career for 15 years. I was half of those years, I was, not even part of the rotation. Half of them I was never a starter. I think I might have started 16 or 18 games total in 15 years. But Damian stays ready. He shoots the ball well. He's a heady player. He understands what's happening on the floor, and he just tries to make the right play all the time. And those are all the qualities that I had. So I have a really good connection too with Damian. I appreciate his professionalism, and I always tried to be that person, that human being for my teams and my coaches. And it was one way to survive in the league for sure. And I think Damian's doing a really good job of that himself, just making himself valuable every way that he can.
Can I piggyback on a little Damian Love? Hasn't he improved defensively at a pretty amazing rate the last couple of years? 40% three-point shooter is incredible, but to me, the effort he gives defensively, Steve, he's really taken great strides in that area.
Yeah, he really has. He's longer than you think. He's a good 6'5" and got a good wingspan. I think where he's gotten better is just strength-wise. It seems like he's been more able to stand up to the bigger, stronger players this year. But he's always in the right spot and got a great feel for the game. And he's become a crucial part of our team, whether he's in the rotation or not. There are certain players who are just kind of part of your fabric. I always felt about Zaza Pachulia that he was, a real part of our identity just because of his presence and what a good teammate he was. That's how I feel about Damian.
All right, this one will be quick because we want to get a bunch in, but Ken Newberger says, the Warriors are up 3. The opponent has the ball with 10 seconds left. Do you foul or defend?
I know what you do, Fitzy.
We foul because we understand math.
That's right. We foul. So that's generally what we do. The tricky part is there are moments where it's difficult to do so, and so we go over it, we a few times a year in practice. We'll do our 3-point defense, and the danger, of course, is you don't want to foul a guy in the process of that shot. So we try to teach, but teach the technique and the strategy. But yes, foul, absolutely.
Terry Lemmy asked a question that I saved because I want you to go into this a little bit. How does Steve's coaching staff work with each other? How do the coaches think together or develop together? Because part of your job, Steve, is to coach the coaches. And when I see Aaron Miles with Wiggins, and I see what Theo Robinson has done, and I see what Luke Locks has done, and what Chris DeMarco has done, Jaron Collins, Ron Adams, you've done such a good job of giving players their own coaches, and then collectively you're coaching the coaches. That's what Bill Walsh used to do, what Belichick does. Give a little love to your whole staff, because I'm always impressed with the cohesion and quality of all the people that work as Warrior coaches. Well,
you hit on it at the end. That's the key, is the quality of the people. We're almost like, seamen in a submarine, we're together so often and in close quarters, whether it's on the plane or in the locker room, or, we're just together all the time. So you better appreciate the person next to you. And so we try to bring in the highest quality human beings we can. And obviously we want them to be really smart, basketball wise and relationship wise. We meet pretty much every day before practice as a group, all the coaches, all 12 of us. And then about halfway through that meeting, the development staff of whom there are 6 will go down to the court, meet the younger players, do their pre-practice activity. And then the older members of the staff will stay in the meeting. And so we all try to be on the same page with everything we're trying to do. Ron Adams has been fantastic for me as a consultant and a sort of a sage, someone I rely on for wisdom when something happens that maybe I'm not quite sure what to do. And so we have a really good mix of experience and youth and guys who work well together.
We'll finish on a high note here. This is our season ticket holders ask the best questions. Kenny Bishop says, you've won championships as a player and a coach. Which is more satisfying?
That's a really good question. I think when you win as a player, it's the culmination of a lifelong dream. For most of us, most of us who play or played in the NBA, you just grew up dreaming about it. And you picture a 5-year-old boy in the Bay watching our championship in 2015. You know that he's out in his driveway or on the schoolyard, wherever, practicing shooting shots in the finals and picturing what it would be like. That's what I did growing up. And so when you win as a player, it's the culmination of an entire childhood and adolescent period of preparing and dreaming of that moment. Winning as a coach is a much more grown-up endeavor. So it's much more satisfying in terms of, I really had to learn what the hell I was doing. I had to learn, what this job was about. And so the feeling, you may not get that same sort of sense of personal satisfaction of having played and worked your way up as a player, but it's incredibly satisfying to see so many people happy. That was my first thought when we won in 15, to see all of our players, our coaches, families, our fans. I think that night in Cleveland when we won the first one, there must have been 1,000 Warriors fans at that game. You were there, you remember. Yeah. And to see the joy and to know, you're the head coach. Like, you've been a part of this. You didn't play, you didn't score, you didn't get any rebounds, but you've helped to organize this. And there's a lot of really interesting dynamics within that, relationships and communication, and a lot of it is difficult. So that was incredibly gratifying to feel that journey as a coach and to feel that joy from everybody.
I'm not going to ask you your greatest moment in basketball, but the Last Dance got into something that's still my favorite for you ever. The greatest player in the world in the history of the game knows he's going to be double teamed in the finals and says, when they come double me, I'm going to pass the ball to you. And you, Steve Kerr, do the Hoosiers Jimmy Chitwood moment and literally say, I'll make it. And then make the game-winning shot for the Bulls to win a championship.
Yeah.
Peter Guber's not even writing that script. It's getting thrown out because Hollywood's never buying it. And it happened, and it's real, and you lived it. Do you ever think of that moment over and over again?
I do think of it periodically. I'm glad you brought up Hoosiers, because I was acting when I said to Michael, I'll make it. I was totally acting. But no, that's the moment that you have as a kid, pretending on the schoolyard. You count the clock down, and to the game-winning shot. And the difference is, of course, when you miss it on the schoolyard, you claim that you got fouled, and then you give yourself 2 free throws and you get another chance. And if you miss the first free throw, there was a lane violation, and then you have another opportunity. Only one chance when it actually happens. And so that's a surreal moment in my life. And I don't think about it every day, but it pops into my head occasionally.
It's the one thing I look at in the NBA. Jordan had hit a game winner against Brian Russell already in that series. And I say it all the time. Why don't they just double team that guy? Make someone else beat them. And Michael knew that, and he knew you were going to get it, and you said you were going to make it, and you did. I love that whole thing. But I still say, why don't they just double team LeBron or Steph or whatever? Make somebody else beat you, because these guys are so good, and we just get to watch the very best that the game has to offer. Finish it off, Steve, with just a thought to our season ticket holders. You have the floor. They're renewing for next year. We're talking about where this franchise is headed and this next kind of attempt to summit the mountaintop. Speak directly to the fans that we've missed so much at Chase Center, and just finish off this little event. Yeah,
well, number one, we miss you. These games are eerie. They really are. I'm glad we're playing, but we miss your energy. We miss your presence. There's the feeling in the building in normal circumstances is kind of what we live for, just the energy and the juice. It's so amazing to be part of. So we miss that. We miss all of you. I think, we're all excited about the light being at the end of the tunnel with the pandemic and vaccines becoming more and more available. We're hoping that some fans will be allowed in to Chase, before the end of the season. We'll see how that goes. But more than anything, when this thing is over, we really hope you come back and see us and support us. And we know you will, because Warriors fans have been amazing forever. But I want to promise that, we're going to have a product that you're going to enjoy. When you think about Steph and Draymond and Clay as the cornerstones, with these young guys, James and Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, who's kind of right in the middle between the stars and the young guys. We have this really good mix, a really good balance on our roster, and we're learning so much this year. It's up and down, but this is all part of laying the foundation going forward So I'm excited about where we're heading, and I hope you guys are too. And just want to say thank you for all your support over the years, and hopefully we'll see you next year.
Steve, thanks for taking the time. It's good seeing you even virtually. We'll see you out there against Philly tomorrow, but thanks for really sharing a number of different things about your kind of career arc and where the team is. Always, I mean, I could sit and talk basketball with you forever.
See, I like seeing you too. We don't get to see each other anymore. This part of this season is just so.
We're texting too much like 16-year-old girls. We got to get past that.
That's right. All right.
All right, Steve.
Thanks.
Take care. Thanks again.
Appreciate it. All right.